program called Home Kirtan and Chat. I'm Pritpal Singh, and today my guest is Dave Suroop Kaur, and I'll introduce her in just a second to you. I hope that you will take a minute to put your name in the comments. Let us know where you're logging in from, and as our discussions go on through the program, if you have particular questions you'd want to bring into our discussion, please put them in the comments. And so I'm experimenting here. In the past, we've done these sessions on Zoom, and so now I'm using a different approach. I'm using a program called Be Live, and I was at first concerned whether the comments from Facebook would show up here, and they are. So I see.
Yeah.
Kirtan. Can you see them as well, Dave?
I see them on my phone here. So we have Kirtan Deep.
Okay, yeah. Kirtan Deep is a regular for this program.
Nice.
Yeah. So Satnam Kirtan Deep, nice to have you with us. And then, of course, this program will reside as a recording on the Sikh Dharma International Facebook page, so it can be viewed by millions later, if that's the case.
Millions.
So let me bring Dave Suroop into the dialogue here. So Dave Suroop is a longtime friend of mine. She and I have known each other more than 20 years, and we've played music together. We have taught teacher training together. And so Dave Suroop is a very respected person in our community in terms of her abilities in teacher training and many recordings that she's put out, and her study of Naad yoga, connecting to that. Well, I'll let you explain, actually. So why don't we start right in with that topic just for a moment, and then Dave Suroop is going to play us a particular shabad that she finds is very helpful during this time. And then we'll talk a little bit about that shabad and why it's particularly appropriate or meaningful. So Dave, you want to just give us an overview of Naad yoga, maybe a little bit?
Yeah. So, when I got attracted into Sikhi and Kundalini yoga way back when, like early 80s, like many, I was very drawn to the sound current and the and just all these years, I've been in this way of life for like 38 years now. That's always what I've come back to, or even not even come back to. I've always resonated very deeply with sound current. And along the way, I've had the privilege of playing, getting into studying and playing a lot of kirtan in a Western style, and also I've had the privilege of studying classical Indian kirtan with by Arthur Singh, by Gopal Singh, in that lineage, and then also really studying deeply chant and how even the small bit that we know about how our production of sound heals, not just because it feels good, but why does it feel good? And some of the things that yogis have known for a long time about the impact to the physiology of the person. And then, of course, research slowly catches up with some of those experiential, I want to say, observations or study of yogis. So, it's a kind of a place I live in is music and sound current and kirtan and chant, and so.
That's great. So those of you who are interested in knowing more, just put some questions in the comments. But we'd love to hear the shabad that you chose.
Yeah. When you and I talked initially about this, jumped right in on Narayan.
Mm-hmm.
And how long do you want? Like, how long do you want me to do it? Like 10 minutes or something?
10 minutes is good. A little less, a little more, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll kind of do not a long version of Narayan.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have that mic. How's the mic? Didn't bring the mic forward.
All right. Well, it'll probably be better if you bring it forward and for the guitar, move it a little closer to your voice. That would probably be good.
Okay.
And if not, then it's just what it is.
My cool little beast here. Yeah. Good. So, and then we'll talk about the shabad afterwards, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this was Guru Arjan Dev Ji. Sound okay?
Yes, it does.
Naam Ranjan Nirai Rasna Simrit Bhaplai Naam Ranjan Nirai Rasna Simrit Bhaplai 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 Narayan Samamaya Narayan Kapikatu Paridas Narayan Katai Narkunajai Narayan Sevu Swadamathai Narayan Sevu Swadamathai Naam Ranjan Narayan Rasna Simrit Bhaplai Naam Ranjan Narayan Rasna Simrit Bhaplai 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 Narayan Samamaya Narayan Mohit Sansa Narayan Kata Jamapada Pai Narayan Tantavane Narayan Tantavane Naam Ranjan Rasna simrut paapalai, rasna simrut paapalai, rasna simrut paapalai, rasna simrut paapalai. Sad sad bhagashinna Narayana kina sukhananda Narayana pravita kino kata Narayana santu komayeva Narayana pravita kino kata Narayana santu komayeva Narayana santu komayeva Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Wonderful. One of my favorites.
Love that, Shabad.
And you have recorded this 10 years ago, was it?
Oh gosh. I think 20 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So those of you who might have, if it sounded familiar, maybe you already have that recording because it's been around for a while. But also, for those of you for whom it's new, you can check that out through the usual channels, I'm assuming, Dave Suroop?
Yeah. You know,
Okay.
iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah.
So, let's see if I can bring this up. So, Ken Deep is asking, can you explain a little bit about Naad, how it works, what it does, how to connect, etc.?
Sure. Good. And then, great, good. And I want to say hi to Gulzan. And I saw Simran Mark get on. I don't know if he's on now. Just saying hi to folks. Matamunder. Yay, David Dial. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so Naad yoga. Sound and mantra. Boy, there's so many ways you could go, but very, very high level. The foundation of what I know and I teach and I've learned, and I keep on learning more and more and more as time goes on, is everything comes down to everything vibrates. So everything has a frequency. This can, my seltzer water, the aluminum or the tin or whatever it is, vibrates at a certain frequency so it can hold its form. And we vibrate at, different parts of our body vibrate at different frequencies. Sound current itself has a frequency. And that the more dense something is, the slower the frequency. And then the more etheric, I guess, the faster the frequency. Sound has, it's all vibration. And that through our being and our life, we hold I want to say trauma or experiences in our body, that has a frequency. So when we chant, and particularly when we chant in sacred language, Gurumukhi being one, where it's not a conversational language. So the language, the meaning, context of the word doesn't morph over time. When you chant in that way, those words hold the frequency of the word that it's describing. So prem is love, and sat is truth, and that when you chant that way, you're chanting in that frequency. You chant those words, you're chanting the frequency of that truth. So one way is that, there's the term japa tapa sanjam. Jap, you repeat. So if I say Waheguru once, great, good on me. If I say Waheguru a lot of times, japa, I repeat it a lot of times, I create psychic heat, tapa, and that's why we talk about chanting from the navel, that you create heat and you burn ultimately what you're doing is you're burning karma, you're burning things that you hold that you don't need, because your frequency starts to align with the frequency of the thing that you're repeating. Sanjam gets one translation is oh gosh, it's not coming to me, but like a righteous way of living, or a peaceful way of living, or a dharmic way of living, which might sound, kind of like this, but that you're in a life of ease, a life of greater ease. So there's the vibratory frequency, and then, I could keep going and going. So I'll stop there.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good. A little theory goes a long way.
Yeah.
So this shabad, I love it. It's both powerfully poetic, and by that I'm referring to the fact that it has this repeating structure. Narayan is starting 90% of the lines start with Narayan.
Yeah.
And so to you, how do you understand Narayan?
Well, it's interesting because, Narayan, uh, from a essence kind of way it's described as immaculate and pure. It's also got an essence of water, kind of a flowing quality in the researching that I've done with around this Shabad and Narayan itself. There's also an element of what I asked. I don't know if you remember Dr. Balkar, who used to come to Espanol teach, and I asked him what he thought of this Shabad, and he said, like when you don't, just as a rose, the essence or the scent of the rose when it blooms. That's the essence of this Shabad, is that your essence blooms forth with reciting this Shabad.
Yeah.
And that it might be held and then,
Well, it's interesting that he spoke, Dr. Balkar, about this idea of a rose and scent, because the first line, Nam Naranjan Niran Narayan, is talking about watering my heart, as if, I'm a blooming flower, and Narayan is nurturing me with this water, this this gift. And it seems that this whole Shabad just is confirming this connection, this devotional connection between Narayan as an expression of the infinite, the divine infinite, actually making having some agency in our lives. That the Shabad talks about, it lives in everyone, shines on every heart.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about those ideas?
Well, the thing that comes forward to me is that, because another angle to get at this Shabad, is Narayan being the husband of Lakshmi. And, then you get the Hindu mythology in there. But here we're talking about Narayan, who is the immaculate, pure Lord, right? And that one way that this is talked about is that Lakshmi, being goddess of wealth, is that if you pray straight at Lakshmi, it's Maya, right? But that if you're going to the husband, then you're kind of courting the husband, and then the wife comes along. So that's one way that this Shabad is described.
That's beautiful. Two for the price of one.
Yeah, it's all about prosperity. This Shabad is that basically all things come to you with reciting this Shabad.
And yet, like the essence of Guru Nanak being so egalitarian, saying that Narayan Sadhusanga Narayan, that referring to the idea that if we just gather together and be in each other's company, that in itself is a powerful tool to transformation.
Which is actually in the Shabad, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's right there in the last lines.
Right.
Yeah. Let's take a question from Deborah here. There it is. How do you think the sounds and their meaning came together as one? So, no, this is not Guru Nanak. It's one of the Nanaks. It's Guru Arjan. But anyway, if so, do you think Guru Arjan embodied love and then heard the vibration as the sound of Prem?
Yeah.
Prem being immaculate love. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I think how I'm reading what Deborah's saying is I think where we're going is not just to this Shabad, but back to how prem got to be the vibratory frequency of love, that word, or sat or satya or such, truth. And the way I describe that is that, and this is how I make sense of it, is I imagine the yogis of old, the Naad yogis of way old, having spending a lot of time vibrating and meditating and finding the sounds that vibrated at the frequency of, like, they could be in that experimental space for their whole life. Mm-hmm. And then pass that on to the next student. And, the whole, what we understand is the oral, way pre-written legacy of what we're doing and practicing now. So
this seems to be a chicken and egg kind of question. Did the meaning come first or the sound come first?
Yeah, I'd say, and of course I go back to frequency, right? Mm-hmm. And Deborah's saying the creator of Gurumukhi. Well, that goes back to Nanak, but Gurumukhi, it's Gurumukhi as a codified language, but the essence of that goes way back. Some even say pre-Sanskrit, where all this stuff is, all these words that we're using in Gurumukhi or other traditions, Hindu chant traditions or whatever, that are frequency traditions. So
yeah, it's clear that language is a messy thing. Like you bring in bits and pieces from lots of places. And Guru Nanak, of course, because he traveled so much, he would have been exposed to ideas and sounds and sound current, Naad, of various sources. And I think that was one of the amazing things, was that he brought that together in music. I mean, that's really just the most amazing thing, isn't it? That all of the Bani that we talk about, all of the Gurbani, is intended to be in musical form, and here you today, presented in beautiful musical form. And it might be different from what Guru Arjan might have used, but in the end, does it matter?
Yeah.
So let's talk about your background with music and how you sort of connected that to your journey, your spiritual journey. Was there a time? Can you remember the first time you thought, well, I can do that. I can lead the kirtan. I can lead the chanting.
Yeah. Wow. I've been a musician all my life, but I didn't really have the confidence to call myself that, maybe till my early 30s or something. Even though now I can look back and say, okay, I was a musician. I started playing piano when I was 5, and I used that to really, frankly, to cope with my childhood, playing music. I would lose myself in playing piano. When I started Kundalini Yoga and Sikhi, which both came together right at the same time for me, 1983 is when all that happened. I had this deep, deep longing to express myself that way confidently. And that took a long time. Mm. Yeah. I'd moved out here living in Espanola, and I was working in a work situation that turned out to be really unpleasant. And I remember, and I'll say it, that there were a lot of opinions about me and my performance in this work situation, and they were all the gamut of opinions, right? And I remember kind of looking through my puffy red eyes through my, crying, whatever I was going through then. And I said, boy, everybody has an opinion, don't they? And what was interesting is I was playing a couple of shabads at that time, and I can't even remember what I was playing, in my own. And they were both about restoring honor. And I somehow in that whole experience, I gained confidence, and I was able to, hold my own and lead my, and be present, and rather than not confident and kind of hiding. I kind of went through, for me, and it's true for many musicians, is just being very kind of held by a concern about people's opinions, which can be so locking up. And I had some experiences that kind of helped me break out of that enough that I could explore more freely and more openly and more as a leader.
Was there ever a point where you felt like there was something else going on, that it wasn't simply playing music like you had done previously?
Like something else going on, like
spiritually,
a bigger connection. And
yeah, like when you would lead the chanting, were you confronted at some point to realize, oh, this isn't just the mechanical playing of music, I also have to open to a bigger experience here?
Yeah. I think that would be my longing. I was longing for that when I first started, right? And then kind of getting myself out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find by, particularly playing Kirtan and chanting, is getting my small self out of the way, and that it doesn't always happen that you get yourself out of the way when you're playing Kirtan. I always think of Kirtan as seva.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you years ago, because I think we first met like 89 or something, a long time ago, when we moved to Claremont.
I was only 5. I don't remember.
Your son was 12. How did that work?
Okay. It caught me.
That like something about like music instruments being an accompaniment for the voice.
Mm.
And I always remember you saying that, and kind of referred back to that in my own teaching in my own space. And that I believe that it's through the voice that we connect and heal ourselves, and in the neutrality of the voice. I've taught this stuff a lot, tons. And I remember, you have those moments where there's just these crystal clear moments. And eventually when you relax enough and you let go enough, I had this moment I can remember at winter solstice where you fall in love. Like it's this overwhelming, abundant love. And that you fall in love with yourself and with the universe and with everything, and your judgments fall away. And then I commonly think when somebody goes, oh God, I love so-and-so's voice, what they're loving, of course, is the voice is beautiful, but that essence, that depth, which is the merger, that unstruck melody, that merger. We have a minute. Let me tell you this cool story.
Because go ahead.
So we talked about, we talk about the anahat, anahat, the unstruck melody. And I had this experience, gosh, it had to have been 25 years ago or something, living here. And I used to play every Monday morning in Gurdwara, in the ashram Gurdwara. And so I'm sitting there and playing the guitar, it's my birthday, actually. My 25 years ago, my 7th birthday. So I'm playing away, and in the morning Gurdwara, it's there's 5 or 6 people there, and it's sleepy, and all of that. And I'm playing. Somebody behind the guru doing their thing, and I'm playing away. And I don't have these experiences often, but I popped up into this space, etheric space. And it was like being in a museum or something, a museum of dress, like 1890 and 1720 and 1512, and all these different musicians and dressed in all sorts of different ways. And they were all playing and singing with me. And I was like, whoa, and then I etherically popped back down, and everybody in the room, in the Gurdwara, was still sitting there doing their thing, and I'm like playing and singing, and I'm like, did you see that? Did you see what happened? And then it happened again. So I had this experience twice. And again, this isn't common for me to have these kinds of experiences. And I always remember that, because to me, that was like that there is this unstruck melody. There is this frequency going on all the time that's just waiting for us to be in it. And
maybe we're in it, we just don't notice.
Yeah, and that maybe through our practice of chanting, singing in English something, playing classical Raga, Kirtan, whatever, maybe in those, then we go, we can relax into it.
Yeah, I firmly believe that it's simply a matter of sensitivity and awareness, that those levels of that experience are available at any time that we are ready to pay deep enough attention to it, surrender enough to it, put aside whatever else we think is more important. Yeah, all those things.
Yeah. Maya,
exactly.
So Kirtan was asking if I remembered what shabads those were, and I don't. Both the shabad that I was playing in that Gurdwara or the shabads I did that were the regaining honor ones, I don't recall.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge Kadam Singh came in and posted in the comments. So welcome, Kadam Singh.
Yeah.
So this particular shabad is something that you've probably led the Sangha in 500 times?
Probably.
I don't know. I'm just saying, is it like a friend,
Yeah.
Yeah. Familiarity with it?
Yeah, it's it's a wonderful shabad to play. It's very it's very soothing and comforting, and actually a lot of people know this tune now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first shabad I recorded. I recorded with Liv Singh in Phoenix, and we had a really good time with this. Some of the watery sounds, or me playing an electric guitar and him doing the wah-wah pedal. And the guy's playing the accordion. It's his accordion from when he was a child. That kind of cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And actually this shabad, when 9/11 happened, this was the only thing that calmed me down at night.
There you go. Yeah.
Which was, it's the only thing that...
I think that's the amazing thing, is that there are some shabads that we resonate with immediately. The first time that we either hear them or that we sing them, put a tune to them, whatever. But then there's some that I've been playing for 25, 30, maybe even longer. And, like, it's almost like they're a big group of friends that I take, I ignore some of them for a while,
Yeah.
Like some of my other friends that I don't call or hang out with, and then I'll remember, oh well, what about that one, you know, and I'll play it, and it'll be like, oh man, that is so, and there's like something new, you know,
Yeah.
like even though it's an old friend of this shabad that we've played many times, there seems to be always the possibility of something new to arrive.
Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with that. So Deborah has this question about Rag and shabads.
Let me bring it up on the screen. Yeah.
Let me share a little bit of what I know. Having had that privilege to study Rag Kirtan, I play some of the shabads I haven't studied in a while. But in the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, the Guru, there's 31 rags. And that when you take the shabads and then you sing them in the title rag, it says Rag Ram Kali, blah, 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 blah. You know, and there's a certain scale, certain notes you play, and certain ways you approach or move to the next note, approach a note or move to the next note, and what you do going up and what you do going down. There's a whole other level of depth that gets accessed in playing and in Rag and singing in Rag, and that's good stuff. One of the challenges as a practical challenge in playing in Rag is having a tabla player, a drummer, who can, you know, play with you, because the rhythms are commonly unique. So, but you've got the words of the shabad and the meaning of the shabad and the poetry of the shabad. And then you add to it the scale, the particular scale, the mood, the time of day. It's really sort of, in my experience, dials in the science of sound in a really profound way. So I don't know that deep study of that will get back to me again, you know, but I studied about 10 years and just, whew, good stuff.
Yeah, I think that we are given those opportunities as we need them, and maybe then they are no longer available when we don't need them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you know, kind of go, how come I'm not doing that so much?
You know? Yeah. I had some early exposure to that, and then later many attempts to study and frustrated time and time again. But
yeah.
You know, you use what you have and you do the best you can.
Yeah, and just one more note on that. I know we're close to time.
Just coming up to time, sure.
So there's a recording I did of Dandan Ramdas Guru that I learned from by Kultar Singh, by Avtar Singh. And that melody was actually composed over 300 years ago.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
And that, you know, that's been going through their lineage. By Kultar, I think, is 12th or 13th in that lineage. So being able to learn that and sing that and play that in that old of a composition, you know, in Rag, in the title Rag. Whew.
Yeah, it's quite a thing to experience and to listen to that. There's a sort of resurgence of people who are studying these older styles of playing Gurbani, and I think that's amazing. You know, when you hear it, you realize, okay, so music was the sensibility of what was to be used and how to use it within the musical form was just really different back that far. You know? Yeah, very cool. So glad you were able to do that and then record it, because then, you know, maybe somebody else is going to find that down the road and realize, oh wow, this is something I can tap into. So that kind of passing along of what you've learned from your teacher and making it available for others to learn. That's really great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank, uh, first of all, Dave Suroop for willingness to come on and be so
Well, thank
generous with
you.
your time and knowledge and experience and sharing with us the Narayan Shabad. All of you who have joined in and posted questions or just said hi, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. My guest next week will be Hansu Singh from Germany, although he's currently in Majorca. Yeah, tough job, isn't it? Somebody has to be in isolation in Majorca. But in fact, I spoke to him and he's just in an apartment. He can't get out, so it's kind of ironic. In any case, we'll be speaking with Hansu Singh then. So everybody, thank you for joining. Be well, be safe, stay home if you can. Okay, Satnam, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I'm hungry.